But Susan couldn't escape the spotlight for long. The next day was the final of Britain's Got Talent.
I dreamed a dream in time gone by.
When she came on the stage at the final, she wasn't the same Susan. You could see that she'd been upset all day. You could see she was under stress, and I was quite, worried about her. Really worried about her.
I thought it could have gone either way at that point. That's why we always put the public in control of these shows, because the public have a right to say that act was better than that act.
The winner of Britain's Got Talent 2009 is... Diversity!
I looked to them, I looked to the right, and I thought, I don't know how you're going to deal with this.
Susan doesn't like failure. If she doesn't do things good, then she is a failure to her. She'll think that.
Then she goes back to the hotel afterwards, and it's now sunk in. She hasn't won, and in her mind, genuinely, she believed nobody ever wanted to hear her sing again. It was all over. Gone. And as much as we were trying to persuade her, she just couldn't deal with that. She couldn't deal with the pressure. And we had a very, very difficult week. The hardest week I've ever had in my life. And for her.
The moment that Diversity won the show, what flashed through your head?
That the boys had done really well, and that they deserved to win, because they worked really hard at their act. I was disappointed at not winning, but coming second, that's good. It's better to be gracious in these occasions.
And you were very gracious on stage, and then afterwards you began to react, I think, not like the Susan I knew. You looked like you, as Simon said, really, you kind of suddenly panicked. This might be the end for you as a singer.
I did panic in the end, yeah, because I just lost, well, not lost, but I come second in a national competition. I didn't realise that that would probably be a good thing, not a bad thing.
Were you completely exhausted by then?
Well, after being through the melee of the media, after being in the public attention on such a high level, yes, I was exhausted. I needed somewhere to go to recuperate.
Where did you go?
Everybody knows, it's been highly publicised, that I went to the Priory. The Priory is a place you go for a rest. But I didn't realise at the time that it was a mental home. It's not a spa, but a mental, right? There are certain people in there who really need it.
Well, I mean, I would say that they would describe themselves probably, not as a mental home, but as a clinic that would really be a refuge for people with all manner of disorders, whether they were drug addicts or alcoholics or people who were just exhausted, but people who wanted to opt out of the crisis they were in.
Well, it wasn't like that when I was there. To me, it was just too clinical. I won't go into too much of what I went through there, but my family and myself believe that I shouldn't have been there. I should have been up the road and having a rest up there. I didn't need medication. I didn't need a doctor. I didn't need that. But it was felt that that was the appropriate action at that time.
I mean, I remember the show feeling a real sense of responsibility towards you and feeling they had to try and get you the best medical attention they could possibly get. But what you're saying now is, with hindsight, you don't think it was for you, really. Should have just gone home, maybe.
Well, it was a bit of a scare. It was a scary time for me. Being in a place like that, although very therapeutic for some people, for people like me, it was scary. You know, and I thought, I have nobody here I know. Where are they all? Where's my family? Where's my friends? Do I have anybody left? I mean, I wasn't allowed to see a television. I wasn't allowed to make a phone call out. Where was everybody? I just felt as if I'd been dumped. And that's probably the most frightening experience I've ever been through.
So you've gone from one of the great moments of your life to, a few months later, as a result of that moment, having possibly the worst?
I felt that the dream was over. I felt, well,
It become a bit of a nightmare.
bit of a nightmare, but a turning point. That 2 days, I was thinking about myself, what my position was. Was I stable? I knew I was, but I was just tired. I needed people around me, but not clinical people, just my family. And eventually, I would have got back to what I was going to be doing. But I realise now that people did act in my best interests.
Oh, there's no question of that.
They acted in my best interests, and they did what they thought was best at the time. But it was scary, because I wasn't used to being in a place like that.
How long was it before you felt able to come out of the Priory and get back into the normal run of life?
I would say it's taken about 12 months.
Really?
Because being in a place you're not used to, there's a lot to you. And it makes you wonder if people ever accept you the same way again. It was a bit like being drawn back to your roots, still having something wrong with you, and still having a label put to you. That's what I felt.
So it's interesting, you said there that you don't ever feel that you're unstable. And certainly whenever I've been around you, I've never felt that. I've always said that publicly.
It depends what you mean by unstable.
Well, I say you're feisty,
Yeah.
and you can be a little bit punchy if you want to be.
I'm
and
not
you're
mad.
not to be trifled with, but I think that underneath it is a thoughtful, sensitive woman.
Well, that's a side they don't see because I keep that hidden.
I think I'd be more like this in public than you have been. I think I would show people a little bit more of the real Susan.
Well, I can do that now because I'm a bit more relaxed in the situation. You've got to remember, I've had pressure from all sides here. And I feel more relaxed in my job now.
To those people who say, what Susan Boyle needs is to get away from all this fame and attention and go back to the life she had, what do you say to them?
Go back to the life I had. The life I had was sitting at home, having a talent that I can't use. Why go back to that?
Can you walk down the street without being bothered now? Or is it literally anywhere you go in the world you get
Well,
stopped?
I can't go into Edinburgh without being bombarded.
When you came to America, it was like the Beatles had landed. You know, LA airport was completely just crazy down there. And there's you in the middle of it with a big grin on your face, and you must have been thinking, what on earth is going on?
I thought it was a big hoot. It was
Did
a big
you?
hoot.
You enjoyed that?
It was a good laugh.
Because people just sort of keep trying to portray you as someone who doesn't really like this kind of attention or the fame. But how much of it do you really enjoy?
Well, on a scale, I think 95% of it, because sometimes you like to have your wee space, and you like to be you. And if you don't have that, you don't feel grounded.
Despite coming second on Britain's Got Talent, Simon Cowell did whisper in your ear afterwards that he still thought there'd be a great record in you. And boy, was there a great record in you, Susan. The time had come for Susan to record her first album, but insecurities about performing meant that even doing what she did best wasn't going to be easy.
She was scared, she was really scared. And I just thought to myself, I'm not sure this is going to happen. But we took her into the live room, showed her the headphones, the microphone where she'll be singing. Music started, she closed her eyes, and just this magic happened.
I dreamed a dream in time gone by.
I've never experienced it before.
I Dreamed a Dream was released in November 2009 and smashed records for a debut album, reaching #1 in the UK and US.
How incredibly appropriate that the first album would be called I Dreamed a Dream. She's been able to live out that dream just about on every level.
9 million albums is a phenomenal sale. Going back to the golden age of album sales, that would be comparable to a 30 million sale. Now, that's amazing.
The fairy tale didn't stop there. Susan sang a duet with her idol Elaine Page and went on to perform for the Pope.
Oh, lost upon that I may never see. Oh, holy night, the stars are brightly shining.
Even before its official release, her new album topped the US charts on pre-sales alone. But can it ever live up to the success of I Dreamed a Dream?
Will it go on at this level for... No, of course it won't, and I've been very open about that. Most artists' discovery album, the album where they break through and become internationally well-known, is usually their biggest album.
It's a tradition that the successor will be lucky to do half and will probably do a third. But in this case, they've kept the supply of Susan Boyle so limited that the demand is almost still as high as it was last time. They could get 2 monster records out of this.
Despite the accolades for the first album and early success of the second, Susan still worries about the dream disappearing as quickly as it came.
It sometimes paralyses her, the fear of it all ending, because she's always waiting it ending, because she still doesn't believe it started.
Insecurities come into play, and she worries, and she's not always happy, let's put it that way. You know, and I'm also acutely aware of the fact that when she goes home at night, she can start to fret about things.
I think Susan will make records for as long as Susan wants to make records. I think she really is here to stay.
How will you feel if this album isn't a big success?
It's the luck of the draw. You win some, you lose some.
I mean, are you prepared for potentially not having a big hit again?
Well, who says it's not going to be a hit? Let's just make it one.
Well, it's already, I think it's already the fastest pre-order on Amazon of the year. Do you know what Amazon is?
Something to do with computing?
It means you're the most popular record of the year so far in pre-sales.
Thank you.
Do you still worry about failure?
I think everybody who has had success in such a short space of time does worry about failure. That's just one of the risks you take. There's a lot of very good singers out there. So anything can happen.
To those people in the media who say, what Susan Boyle needs is to get away from all this fame and attention and go back to the life she had, what do you say to them?
Go back to the life I had. The life I had was sitting at home, being unemployed, nobody bothering, having a talent that I can't use. Why go back to that? I've got a talent I can use.
Susan Boyle, thank you very much.
Thank you, Piers.